suspicious content in the stillness of thought. You can hold both pictures at once. You can rest in the comfort of flow, the feeling that life moves forward, while also holding the idea that nothing moves at all. You drift gently between the two, as though the mind itself is both the river and the riverbank. The illusion of a flowing river may be necessary. Without it, you could not plan, could not remember, could not live as you do. The stillness of physics may be true, but the current of perception is what carries you through. And perhaps that duality is itself the mystery worth holding. For now, you let yourself rest in the paradox. A river that flows, a river that stands still, both truths side by side. You do not need to resolve them. You need only to breathe in their quiet strangeness and feel how vast time becomes when you stop insisting it must move. You live in a fabric you cannot touch. It does not fold in your hands like cloth. It does not fray under your fingers. And yet, this fabric holds every step you take, every star above you, every breath within you. Space and time, woven together, form a single sheet upon which the universe unfolds. For centuries, time and space were thought of as separate. One was the stage, the other the motion upon it. But Einstein showed you something gentler, stranger, more complete. The two are not apart. They are threads of the same cloth, inseparable, always intertwined. To speak of space without time is to speak of surface without texture. To speak of time without space is to speak of melody without air dot. This fabric is not rigid, it bends, it yields to matter and energy, curving softly around stars, stretching under the weight of planets, rippling when things move. It is supple, elastic, alive with response, and in its bending lies the slowing of time. If you place a clock at the base of a mountain and another at its peak, they do not agree. The clock at the base, deeper in the gravity of the earth, ticks more slowly. The one at the peak, where gravity is lighter, ticks a little faster. The difference is small, a fraction of a second over long spans, yet it is real. The fabric stretches, and time itself stretches with it. This is not just theory. Atomic clocks, the most precise instruments ever made, have proven it. Lift one a few meters higher, and it runs differently than the one below. Time is not universal. It is local, dependent on where you rest upon the fabric. Your seconds and someone else's may not match perfectly, because the sheet beneath you is bent in different ways. Think of a marble rolling across a blanket. Where the blanket dips under a heavy weight, the marble curves inward. Gravity, Einstein revealed, is not a force pulling you in, but the bending of the fabric itself. And just as space curves, so too does time. When you walk across the earth, you are also walking across its distortion of time. A black hole deepens this truth to an extreme. Its mass bends the fabric so steeply that time near it slows almost to stillness. To stand at the edge of such a horizon is to watch the rest of the universe race ahead while your own seconds crawl. From far away, it seems you are frozen. From close by, you still feel time pass, but the fabric around you has stretched so thin that your hours are not the same as anyone else's. The universe is filled with this quiet unevenness. Stars warp the sheet, galaxies twist it. Even you, with your small weight, bend the fabric in ways too tiny to notice. Each object shapes the flow of time around it. There is no single ticking for all of existence. Instead, there are countless tickings, each adjusted by the contour of the cosmic cloth. This means that your life, your seconds, are not absolute. They are woven into the bends of the earth, into the pull of the sun, into the dance of the galaxy. You are stitched into the stretching, thinning, curving fabric. Time is not merely passing. It is being shaped, sculpted, softened by the gravity beneath your feet. If you rest in this thought, a calm arises. You see that time is not a tyrant, rigid and unbending. It is supple, willing to change. It listens to the stars, to the weight of mountains, to the speed of your motion. When astronauts orbit Earth, their clocks tick slightly differently than yours. When light bends around the sun, it carries the proof of the fabric's curves. Everywhere, the fabric is alive with this gentle give and take. You may wonder how you can live in such a pliant world and yet feel time so steady. The answer lies in scale. Your body, your senses, are tuned to the flow of your local patch of fabric. You do not feel the slowing of time near a mountain, because every process within you slows in harmony. Your heartbeat, your breath, your thoughts, all move to the same softened rhythm. To you, it feels the same, but compared to another place, another depth in the fabric, it is different. And so, you live in a universe where no two clocks are ever fully in step. Each is faithful to its own patch of spacetime, each tied to the contours beneath it. This is not chaos, but harmony of another kind, a chorus of different tempos, each one true to its own position in the fabric. You can picture the fabric as vast and endless, stretching beyond sight, heavy with galaxies, trembling faintly with ripples of gravitational waves. These ripples are the size of the universe itself, sent out when great masses collide, like stones dropped into a cosmic pond. When they pass, even your own world stretches and relaxes ever so slightly, and time itself quivers in their wake, too. Rest in this is to feel small, but also deeply connected. You are not apart from the fabric. You are not merely resting on it. You are made of it, woven into its weave. Your atoms, your cells, your mind, all unfold within the bends of this great cloth. You are not carried on top of time. You are part of the stretching of time itself. The fabric stretches thin, yet it does not tear. It bends, wrinkles, flows. It is both delicate and enduring, holding galaxies as lightly as it holds you. And in its bending lies the rhythm of your life, the length of your seconds, the story of the cosmos. You feel time as a forward pull. Each moment seems to fall behind you, unreachable, while another waits just ahead. You never mistake the direction. You know what it is to remember, and you know what it is to anticipate. One looks back, one looks forward. They do not trade places, but why should time lean one way? The laws of physics, in their deepest expressions, do not prefer direction. An equation written for the future works just as well if you run it backward. Motion, force, energy, all are symmetric in this way. The universe, in its mathematics, does not demand that time march. And yet, in your body, in your mind, in your every perception, time does march. You cannot escape its arrow. The answer is found in the quiet drift of entropy. Entropy is the measure of disorder, the tendency for things to scatter, to loosen, to unravel. A drop of ink disperses in water but never gathers itself back together. A shattered glass spreads across the floor but never leaps into wholeness. A candle burns down, heat escaping outward, never rising back into solid wax. These are the signatures of entropy, a universe leaning always from order into disorder. This leaning gives time its direction. You do not notice the symmetry of physics because your world is painted in entropy's strokes. The arrow you feel is not the arrow of equations, but the arrow of change, drawn by the spreading of disorder. Consider your own body. You are built upon order, cells organized into tissues, tissues into organs, organs into the flowing whole of your being. Yet, even as you live, you slowly release order. Heat seeps from your skin. Energy disperses in every action. The cost of living is the steady slide toward entropy. In this way, your life itself is tied to the forward march. On Earth, the sun fuels you. Its light is order, a stream of low entropy, photons. Plants catch them, storing their neatness in bonds. You eat them, weaving order into your body. Yet always, the exchange requires a greater release of disorder into the wider world. The universe balances the ledger, and entropy increases. You thrive because of it, but you cannot reverse it. Even stars, burning so fiercely, live under entropies. Rule, their fuel runs down, their heat spreads outward, their brightness dims. Galaxies drift into cooler stillness as the great processes of order exhaust themselves. The arrow is not only in your small life, it is in the grandest scales of existence, and yet entropy is not chaos, it is not violence. It is the gentle spreading of possibility. It is the reason you cannot return to childhood, why memories sit behind you and not ahead, why the past is fixed while the future is open. The arrow is not cruel. It is simply the condition of being in the language of your feelings. This becomes the truth you live with. Nostalgia, loss, anticipation, hope. Each is painted by entropy's brush. You look back at a moment and know you cannot walk into it again. You look forward to a moment and know it is not yet shaped. Entropy does not only direct the glass, the ink, the candle, it directs your own heart. Some philosophers ask whether memory itself is simply an imprint of entropy. You remember the past because disorder has grown from it, leaving traces. The future, not yet unraveled, leaves no mark. Thus, your mind leans into the arrow as surely as the world does. You may rest in this paradox, that the arrow is everywhere, and yet it does not appear in the equations of physics. It emerges, gently, from the statistics of many things moving. Suspicious content a tick is not a truth. It is only a sound, a marker, a rhythm pressed into your awareness. You listen to the slow division of moments, and it feels as though the world is being carried forward, second after second, pulse after pulse. Yet what you hear is not time itself, but a shadow of time, an agreement we made with ourselves to tame something we never fully understood. You are told that 1 second is always the same, that it is the firmest of foundations, a solid step beneath your feet. But if you pause, if you let your mind drift deeper, you begin to notice that this is not quite true. 1 second in your body, in your mind, can stretch wide or collapse into nothingness. When you are restless, a minute feels like a mountain. When you are lost in joy, an hour slips through your fingers like a grain of sand you never felt drop. The clock disagrees with your feelings. It insists on sameness. It slices the day into equal measures, refusing to bend to the tides of your emotions. Yet you know, in the quiet honesty of experience, that the life you live inside your body does not move with mechanical precision. The illusion of clocks is that they offer you certainty, but certainty is not the same as truth. Consider the earliest clocks. Before gears and pendulums, before quartz and atomic oscillations, there was the sky. People looked upward to see shadows stretch and shrink, to see the moon carve its circle, to see the stars shift across the seasons. These patterns gave a rhythm, but they were never perfectly even. Clouds passed, seasons stretched. The earth itself wobbled gently in its rotation. Even here, in the roots of measurement, time was never truly smooth. It was always a little uneven, a little alive. Later, humans built machines to correct the sky. They cut moments into sharper edges. Sundials gave way to water clocks, dripping with precision, then to pendulums that swung with reliable grace. Eventually, quartz crystals were set humming, and atomic clocks were born, measuring the subtle oscillations of atoms themselves. Now, we know how to divide a second into billions of finer parts. Yet, despite all of this refinement, what we measure is not time itself, but a chosen vibration, a chosen rhythm. A second is not discovered, it is decided. When you breathe, you feel another rhythm, quieter and truer. Your lungs expand, then contract. Your heart thuds, then rests. Your body makes its own clocks, not measured in seconds, but in sensations. The beat of your life does not obey the tick of any machine. When you fall asleep, your body forgets about hours. Dreams take you through moments that feel endless or vanish instantly. You wake, and time has passed, but it is only the clock that can tell you how much. There is a comfort in clocks. They give you schedules, appointments, calendars, years. They help you meet others in shared rhythm. They build the bridges of society, allowing billions of people to move in coordinated steps. Without clocks, life would feel less predictable, less steady. Yet beneath the comfort lies a quiet illusion that the tick is the truth. Physics, too, begins with this illusion, then pulls it away. When scientists studied the universe more closely, they found that time is not steady at all. A second measured in one place may not match a second in another. High in the mountains, where gravity is slightly weaker, clocks tick faster than they do at sea level. A satellite in orbit carries a clock that must be corrected to stay in step with the ones on Earth. Time stretches, shrinks, bends to the pull of gravity and the rush of speed. What once felt universal is revealed to be local, personal, shifting. And then there is your perception. The brain you carry makes its own time, weaving experience into a flow that only you feel. When you focus, moments sharpen. When you drift, they blur. Neuroscientists study this with curiosity, finding that time perception is deeply tied to memory, to attention, to emotion. In truth, you do not live seconds or minutes at all. You live sensations, memories, rhythms, breaths. Time as you feel. It is not a tick, but a wave that rises and falls within you. This gap between measured time and lived. Time is the space you rest in now. One is mechanical, sharp, an invention that holds society together. The other is soft, flowing, an intimate rhythm only you can sense. They overlap, they argue, they drift apart. Sometimes the clock wins, reminding you that a deadline is near. Sometimes your body wins, carrying you into timelessness as you drift toward sleep. You can think of clocks as scaffolding. They are not the building itself, but the frame around which we shape our lives. We do not move because of the frame. We move because of the breath, the pulse, the deep unfolding of experience. Clocks give us order, but order is not essence. Essence is the silent unfolding of moments that cannot be captured by gears. Perhaps the gentlest way to think of time is not as a line, or even as a river, but as a field of stillness in which you notice change. What you call time is really change. The hand shifting on the dial, the leaf drifting from a branch, the body aging softly. Time is the word we give to change, and clocks are the tools we use to keep change from overwhelming us. Let your awareness rest here. On one side, there is the illusion of precision, the tick, the calendar, the numbered second. On the other side, there is the mystery of experience, the way an instant can swell with meaning or vanish before you catch it. Both are true, and neither tells the whole story. The next time you hear the ticking of a clock, perhaps you will hear it differently, not as the sound of time itself, but as a reminder that you are alive in a universe where time is more than measurement. You will hear the tick as a lullaby, a steady guide, but not the truth. The truth is quieter, softer, more mysterious than any mechanism can contain. In this quiet realization, you notice how fragile the illusion is, and how gentle it feels to see through it. The clock ticks, and yet you are free. The clock insists, and yet your body drifts. The clock divides, and yet your mind can dissolve the divisions and slip into the wider flow. And so you rest in this awareness, time as invention, time as experience, time as illusion. The gentle ticking fades, leaving you with only your breath, your heart, your being. You are told that time flows. It is the story you grow up with, a river that carries you along, its current unstoppable, its direction certain. You are placed in its waters at birth, and you drift, unable to swim backward, unable to pause. Each moment rushes away, replaced by another, and you are told that this is what it means to live. But physics offers a gentler, stranger whisper. It says, what if there is no river? What if every moment is already there, laid out like pages in a book? You do not move from one page to the next. You simply notice the page you are on. The book is already written, though you cannot yet read ahead. This idea is sometimes called the block universe. It suggests that all of time, past, present, and future, exists at once, like a landscape stretched out before you. You, the traveler, do not move through it. You only open your eyes to one part at a time. The river is not flowing. The river is already still. Think of a film reel. On the strip of celluloid, every frame already exists. Nothing flows inside the reel. Yet, when the projector flickers, the illusion of motion appears. You feel movement, but the film itself is motionless. Time may be like that reel, each frame of the universe etched into existence, while your mind stitches them into a flowing story. It feels unsettling, because you experience life as motion. You feel the passing of days in your body. You feel the loss of yesterday and the approach of tomorrow. Yet in the stillness of physics, yesterday has not vanished, and tomorrow already waits. You are not swept forward. You are suspended in a web of instants. If this is true, then the present moment is not special. It is not the only one that exists. It is simply the one you are aware of, the one your consciousness illuminates. Just as your eyes cannot take in an entire horizon at once, your mind cannot take in the entirety of time. You see only a slice, and so you believe the slice is all there is. This perspective does not erase your feelings of flow. The current is still real to you, because you are a being who perceives change. Your memories stack behind you, your expectations stretch ahead, and together they create the illusion of motion. Yet, at the deepest level, there may be no motion at all, only stillness, vast and entire. Some find this thought heavy, but it can also be calming. If all moments exist, then none are truly lost. Every laughter, every sorrow, Every breath you have taken still resides in the tapestry. They do not vanish into nothingness. They remain, even if you can no longer return to them. You can rest in this, the sense that your life is not a thin thread, unspooling and fading, but a complete pattern already woven. You walk it one step at a time, but the path is there in its entirety, every step already inscribed. The river is not rushing you away. The river has never moved. And yet, this brings you to a deeper paradox. If the river does not flow, why does it feel as though it does? Why is the sensation of time's current so undeniable? Scientists still puzzle over this. Some say it is because of entropy, because change has a direction, and you, as a creature of memory, cannot help but feel the tilt. Others say consciousness itself may be tied to the unfolding of moments, giving you the illusion of a forward journey. Suspicious content, scattering, colliding. The laws allow backward motion, but the odds forbid it. 1,000 shattered shards do not leap into a glass, not because they cannot, but because their chance of doing so is vanishingly small. Entropy is not law, but likelihood, and likelihood reigns. As you drift with this thought, you feel a calm recognition. The arrow that carries you forward is not an enemy, but a guide. It gives you direction, a sense of before and after, a flow to follow. Without entropy, there would be no arrow, no memory, no story. Time would lose its texture. In a perfectly ordered universe, nothing would change. So you rest here, within the comfort of change. You let the arrow carry you, knowing it cannot turn. The past remains where it is, sealed in memory. The future waits, unformed. You are balanced on the edge of entropy's gentle lean, suspended between what has been and what may come. There are places where time seems to forget itself, not in the sweep of galaxies, nor in the fall of mountains, but in the hidden world of the very small. Here, in the delicate theater of quantum mechanics, the arrow of time blurs. The certainty of before and after begins to dissolve, as though the universe, at its foundation, does not care which way the current runs. When you look closely, the equations of quantum physics appear symmetrical. A particle moving forward in time obeys the same rules as a particle moving backward. Nothing in the mathematics demands direction. There is no strict leaning toward past or future. The arrow you feel in your daily life, painted by entropy, is absent here. At the smallest scale, time seems content to hold no preference at all. You may picture two particles colliding. Whether you play the film forward or backward, the interaction looks much the same. Their motions can be reversed, their paths retraced, and the laws would not object. The physics is blind to the distinction between happening and unhappening. It is only your human sense of time that insists on one direction, even decay. The quiet transformation of unstable particles into other forms does not always obey a simple arrow. Some processes show tiny asymmetries, but in many cases, the transformations look the same whether you step forward or backward. At this level, the certainty of this causes that softens. Instead, possibilities shimmer, probabilities unfold, and the boundary between past and future becomes less sharp. This is why, in the quantum world, outcomes are spoken of in terms of likelihood. A particle does not travel a single path. It spreads through all possible paths at once, as if time itself hesitates, unwilling to commit. Only when you observe does the haze collapse into a definite outcome. But before that moment, the particle seems timeless, suspended in a web where before and after are less important than possibility. Your mind, shaped by the macroscopic world, longs for sequence. You want one thing to follow another, one cause to create one effect. Yet at the quantum level, the universe whispers another story, that the flow you know may only be a larger pattern, not a fundamental one. Beneath the arrow, there is symmetry. Beneath the certainty, there is openness. This does not mean that the arrow of time is an illusion. Entropy still stretches across the wider world, setting the direction of your memories and your days. But it does mean that the arrow emerges rather than being absolute. The deep laws of physics allow both directions, and only in the swelling complexity of many particles, many interactions, does the leaning become visible. You may rest in this thought, that the universe is layered. On the scale of your body, time flows. On the scale of stars, entropy pulls. But on the scale of quanta, the smallest flickers of matter and energy, time folds back into symmetry, forgetting its own direction. Consider how calming that is. The arrow is not forced upon reality at its core. It is gentler than that, arising only when countless tiny pieces assemble into a larger whole. The flow you live within is real, but beneath it lies a timeless stillness, where particles dance without caring whether they move forward or back. Perhaps this is why the quantum world feels so mysterious, so dreamlike. It is not only strange in its probabilities and uncertainties, but also in its disregard for the direction you take for granted. You are accustomed to journeys that begin and end, but quantum journeys unfold both ways, as though beginning and ending are simply two sides of the same whole. You might imagine resting in this symmetry, letting go of the need for past and future. You do not have to walk through time. You may simply float in the quiet shimmer of possibility. The particles do not ask which moment comes first. They only exist in the fullness of their patterns. And in their stillness, you may also find rest. This view softens your sense of inevitability. If time itself can blur at the quantum scale, then perhaps your own perception is not as rigid as you thought. Perhaps the forward pull you feel is only one layer of a more intricate truth. Beneath the arrow is the timeless symmetry of quanta, and beneath the quanta is the mystery of why anything exists at all. And so you drift in this paradox, a world where particles flicker without preference, and yet you feel the forward march in your every breath. Both are true. Both belong to the same universe. The arrow does not erase the symmetry, and the symmetry does not undo the arrow. They exist together, layered and interwoven, just as space and time themselves are woven together. You live in a universe that is alive with motion. Stars blaze, planets turn, galaxies collide, and within you, trillions of cells hum with energy. Everywhere you look, something is burning, spinning, unfolding. Yet in the distant future, unimaginably far ahead, there comes a horizon where this liveliness fades. The universe, so full of motion now, may cool into stillness. This horizon is known as heat death, the quiet evening of everything. Heat death does not mean fire. It does not mean sudden violence. It is not an explosion, nor a collapse. It is the opposite, the long fading of differences, the gentle smoothing of contrasts. Heat is simply energy moving from what is warm to what is cold. And over time, all warmth finds balance, all temperatures equalize. When that balance is complete, nothing more can change. The universe is driven by gradients. A star shines because its core is hotter than its surface, and its surface is hotter than space. The sun's light streams outward because of this imbalance. Your body lives in the same way. You burn food into warmth, and that warmth flows outward into cooler air. Every engine, every process, every motion depends on difference. Without contrast, there is no flow. Without flow, there is no work. As the universe ages, these differences diminish. Stars consume their fuel. They burn through hydrogen, then helium, then heavier elements, until at last their fires go out. Some collapse into dense remnants, some scatter their contents into space, but all of them lose their brilliance. The night sky, once crowded with stars, will slowly empty. Galaxies themselves will grow faint. Their stars will die one by one, until only the cold embers of stellar corpses remain. White dwarfs, neutron stars, black holes. These too will fade, cooling ever closer to the background temperature of the universe. Even black holes, once thought eternal, may evaporate over incomprehensible spans of time, releasing their energy into the vast quiet. You can think of this as the evening of creation. The early universe was hot, dense, full of imbalance. Energy rushed outward, contrasts were sharp, differences strong. From those differences came structure, galaxies, stars, planets, life. But evening always follows morning. The sharp contrasts smooth. The rushing energy spreads thin. The cosmos itself begins to cool in heat death. The universe does not vanish. It simply settles into uniformity. Everywhere is the same temperature, the same stillness. No star burns. No gradient remains to drive change. The universe persists. But in silence, time, which you experience through change, may lose its meaning when nothing stirs. For you, this is difficult to imagine. You measure time through the rising and setting of the sun, through the beating of your heart, through the cycles of living things. But in heat death, there are no cycles, no pulses, no rise or fall. There is only equilibrium, a state where nothing happens, because nothing can. The arrow of time, once so sharp, would soften into quietness. Yet even this fate carries a strange calm. It is not destruction, not ruin, it is rest. The universe, after its long journey of expansion and creation, leans into stillness. You can picture it as a final exhale, a great cosmic breath released after trillions upon trillions of years. In that release, there is quiet, not tragedy. This vision is not certain. It is one possibility among others. Some theories suggest the universe may cycle, may collapse and begin again, may find new ways of stirring itself into motion. But heat death remains a profound possibility, rooted in the way entropy unfolds. Disorder spreads, gradients fade, and in the farthest reaches of the future, the cosmos may find itself balanced, still, complete. What does it mean for time when nothing changes? If time is the measure of change, then perhaps time itself thins, stretches, or even loses meaning. In such a state, without before and after, without events to mark difference, the idea of time becomes quiet too. It is not that. It is not that. Suspicious content time ends abruptly. It is that it drifts into silence, like a song that fades until you are no longer sure if you hear it at all. Rest here in that thought. The universe, vast beyond measure, is still moving now. Stars still shine, galaxies still turn, life still blooms. The silence lies unimaginably far ahead. You need not fear it, for it belongs to distances beyond distances, spans beyond imagining. Yet even in its distance, it offers you a meditation, that everything you know is a temporary stirring. a brief brightness in a universe destined to soften into calm. You live in the warm middle, where gradients remain, where stars fuel life, where entropy still has room to grow. You live in the unfolding, not the resting. The horizon of heat death is not a shadow pressing upon you, but a reminder of the fragility of contrasts, the delicacy of difference. All that you cherish, warmth, motion, light, exists because imbalance is still here. So you breathe in this awareness, the warmth of your body, the spark of your thoughts, the glow of your star. All of it is possible only because the universe is not yet balanced. Entropy is still unfolding. Time still has texture. The stillness waits at the horizon, but now you drift in the richness of the in-between. You are taught to think of time as a line. It stretches outward, past to future, an arrow without turning. Yet for many ages and in many minds, time was not a line but a circle. It curved back upon itself, cycling, repeating, carrying each moment not into nothingness but into renewal. You see this idea everywhere in the world around you. The day gives way to night, and night returns to day. Seasons spin through warmth and cold, through growth and decay, only to begin again. The moon wanes and waxes, a silver loop written across the sky. Even your body moves in rhythms, your breath, your heartbeat, your waking and your sleeping. Nature seems to murmur that time is less like an arrow and more like a wheel. Ancient cultures felt this deeply. For them, endings were not absolute, but transitions. The harvest ended, but it promised planting once again. Death arrived, but life returned through children, through memory, through ritual. Eternity was not a march forward, but a turning, a recurrence. The eternal return was not despair, but comfort. The assurance that what is lost comes back, that the circle closes only to open again. Even the stars seem to affirm this. Constellations rise and fall with the seasons, returning year after year. Planets trace loops in the sky, retrograde motions that bring them back to where they began. The universe itself, in its earliest imaginings, was sometimes thought to expand and contract in cycles, a great breathing, a cosmic pulse. The Big Bang might not be a singular event, but one exhalation among many, followed one day by an inhalation, a new beginning. In physics, some models still carry this whisper of cycles. Cosmologists explore the idea of oscillating universes, of expansions followed by contractions, of time folding in on itself. Though not certain, the thought remains. Perhaps eternity is not linear but rhythmic. Perhaps the cosmos itself remembers the pattern of return. You may feel this circle in your own life. Memories rise again, lessons repeat, patterns return. You find yourself facing moments that echo those you thought were behind you, as though your personal time also moves in loops. Each return is not identical, just as each season is different, each day unique, but the shape remains circular, not straight. There is something calming in this. A straight line can feel relentless, always pushing forward, always leaving behind, but a circle is gentle, balanced, steady. It reminds you that loss is not the end of the story, but part of a turning. What falls may rise again. What fades may return in another form. The cycle holds both departure and renewal, both ending and beginning. You can rest in this thought, that eternity may not be endless progress into the unknown, but an infinite spiraling, a wheel turning forever. It is not about escaping the circle, but about recognizing the beauty of its rhythm. The comfort lies in the return, in the reassurance that nothing is ever wholly gone, only transformed, only awaiting its next place in the cycle. Still, cycles raise their own mysteries. If time repeats, does it repeat exactly? Do you live this moment endlessly, again and again, without knowing? Or does the circle shift, evolving slightly with each turn, so that no moment is ever fully the same? You cannot know, but the question itself softens the sharpness of the line, inviting you into a gentler way of seeing eternity. The arrow of entropy may lean forward, but within it, cycles still breathe. Stars are born, shine, and die, but their death scatters material that seeds new stars. Galaxies evolve, but their dust gives way to more galaxies. Even heat death, if it comes, might be only one phase in a wider turning you cannot yet imagine. Perhaps the universe itself is a wheel too vast for you to see. For now, you rest within the pattern you do know, your breath, your heartbeat, the rise and fall of sleep, the loop of days and nights. Each one is a small reminder of a larger truth. You are part of cycles, within cycles, within cycles. Time is not only a river flowing away, it is also a tide that returns. Time does not keep the same rhythm everywhere. It bends, stretches, slows, quickens, always shaped by the fabric it flows through. Nowhere is this more striking than at the edge of a black hole, where gravity becomes so strong that the ticking of clocks falters almost to stillness. A black hole is not a thing in the ordinary sense. It is not a star, though it may be born. From one, it is not an object with a surface you could touch. It is a region where gravity bends the fabric of spacetime so steeply that not even light can escape. And in that bending, time itself is drawn out, thinned into something nearly unrecognizable. You may think of time as a universal beat, steady and unchanging, but a black hole reminds you that time is local, fragile, and easily distorted. To hover far away from a black hole, your seconds pass as usual, your rhythms steady. But for someone who drifts too close, each tick of their clock stretches longer. To them, time feels normal. To you, watching from afar, their moments are drawn out like threads, slowing more and more as they near the event horizon, the invisible boundary beyond, which no return is possible. Imagine a star wandering near to your eyes. Its fall would appear to freeze at the horizon. It stretches, redshifts, fades, never quite crossing the boundary. To the star itself, though, the story is different. It plunges inward, crossing without hesitation. Both views are true, each bound to its own perspective, each anchored in the bending of time itself. This is the clockwork of black holes, a paradox of perspectives, each valid, each complete. Time near the horizon slows compared to time far away. Clocks lose their agreement. Seconds unravel into different lengths. The universe, so carefully stitched together, reveals its elasticity in the presence of such gravity. Your own world feels immune to this strangeness, but even here the principle is the same. Clocks on satellites orbiting Earth must be corrected, because they experience time differently than clocks on the ground. The difference is tiny, but it is real, a reminder that gravity shapes not only motion but also duration. A black hole is simply the extreme of this truth, where the distortion is no longer subtle but absolute. If you rest in this thought, you begin to sense how strange time truly is. It is not a background stage upon which events unfold. It is part of the play itself, woven into the fabric of existence, warped by mass and energy. A black hole does not just capture matter and light. It captures rhythm. It reshapes the beat of existence itself. Even more mysterious is the singularity, the hidden heart of the black hole, where the known laws of physics falter. Here, the bending of space and time becomes infinite. What does time mean at a singularity, where the fabric is twisted beyond measure? No one can say. The mathematics stumbles, and silence takes its place. Yet the horizon itself is enough to inspire reflection. To linger at its edge is to feel the patience of infinity. To watch from afar is to see time stretched into stillness. It is as though the black hole keeps a different clock, one that slows to a near stop, one that whispers that time is not a constant beat but a pliant thread. Black holes also ripple this fabric. When to collide, they send out waves, tremors, in spacetime itself, that we can now detect on Earth. These gravitational waves are the sound of the universe remembering its own clockwork. The rhythm of immense objects moving, merging, reshaping the very flow of time across the cosmos. You may find peace in this thought, that even the darkest places, where light itself cannot return, are not silent. They speak through the stretching of time, through the ripples that reach across galaxies. They remind you that the universe is vast enough to hold paradox, vast enough to let different clocks keep different times, vast enough to allow time itself to nearly pause. And so you rest in the awareness that near a black hole, patience is infinite. To one observer, a moment stretches forever. To another, it passes quickly. Both truths coexist. Both belong. Time, as always, is not a single melody, but a harmony of perspectives. You are used to asking what came before. Before dawn, there is night. Before a seed, there is soil. Before your own life, there were lives that carried you here. The rhythm of cause and effect feels natural, inevitable. Every beginning must have a prior step, a before that explains it. But with the universe itself, the question grows strange. The Big Bang is often spoken of as a beginning, the moment when space and time themselves came into being. If that is true, then the word before loses its anchor. There was no before because there was no time in which before could exist. You can think of time as a thread. Every moment you have known is strung along it, past, present, and future, beads aligned in order. The Big Bang is not another bead, not an event that sits on the thread. It is the loom that makes the thread possible. Time itself is woven into being at that moment. To ask what happened before is like asking what lies north of the North Pole. The question itself dissolves. This idea may feel unsettling, because your mind longs for causes, for a sequence of steps. You want to see the chain stretch backward, without end. But physics suggests that the chain itself begins with the cosmos. Time is not outside the universe. Time is born with it, expanding as space expands, flowing only because the universe allows it to at the beginning. Everything was compressed into a state of unimaginable density and heat. The laws, you know, could not yet separate themselves. Matter and energy, space and time, all bound together in a unity beyond your ordinary comprehension. Out of that unity, time unfolded, expanding along with space, cooling, stretching into the rhythms you now experience. To step into this thought is to rest in a silence deeper than silence. You are asked to imagine not emptiness, not void, not darkness, for even those require time to exist within. You are asked to imagine the absence of before, the absence of sequence. The very framework in which your thoughts move is absent. All that remains is the soft beginning of time itself. It is humbling to realize that everything you know, memory, history, anticipation, cause, effect, depends on this unfolding. Time is not something outside, something eternal. It is part of the fabric woven into the universe itself. Without the cosmos, there is no ticking, no change, no arrow. The Big Bang is not just the start of matter and energy. It is the start of time's very possibility. And yet, even here, mystery remains. Some theories wonder if our universe might be one among many, each with its own beginning. Some suggest that cycles could precede the Big Bang, universes expanding and contracting in endless rhythm. Others imagine a quantum foam where fluctuations gave birth to our cosmos. But all these ideas point back to the same truth. Time, as you know it, does not extend infinitely into the past. It has a horizon, and beyond that horizon, the word before simply dissolves. There is a calm in resting with this boundary. You need not push endlessly into redress, searching for what came before. You can let the line stop here, not because the mystery is solved, but because the mystery is deeper than the question. At the root of all things, time is not a background, but a gift of the universe itself. When you look out at the stars, you are looking backward through time. Light from distant galaxies has traveled for billions of years to reach you. You are always seeing the past, never the present. And yet, no matter how far you look, you cannot peer into a before the Big Bang. The fabric itself will not allow it. The beginning is not behind you. It is everywhere, woven into every moment, still unfolding in the expansion of space. All around, so you rest with this thought. The universe carries time with it, as a wave carries motion, as a song carries sound. There is no before the music begins. There is only silence that cannot be measured, and then the first note, and then the unfolding of rhythm. You feel time as a flow, continuous and unbroken. Seconds slide into minutes, minutes into hours, each blending smoothly into the next. But physics suggests another possibility, that time may not be smooth at all. Perhaps it is granular, divided into the tiniest units imaginable, so small that you cannot sense them, yet fundamental to the structure of reality. You can think of it as a film. On the screen, the picture moves seamlessly, but underneath, the film is made of frames, individual images flashing one after another. Your eyes do not see the gaps. They weave the stillness into motion. In the same way, your mind weaves instants into flow, smoothing what might actually be discrete. The smallest possible unit of time is sometimes called the Planck time, an unimaginably brief interval, about 10 to 43 seconds. It is so small that even the fastest events you know are vast in comparison. In this scale, one heartbeat is an eternity, one blink an age. If time is made of such grains, then everything you experience is built of countless tiny steps, strung together into the illusion of continuity. This thought reshapes how you see motion. When a bird flies, when a river flows, when your breath rises and falls, you imagine them as smooth. But if time is granular, then motion itself may be a sequence, a series of quantum ticks. Each instant holds a complete world, and then another follows, and another, so quickly that you never notice the gaps. You can rest in the mystery of these gaps. What lies between the instants? If each tick of time is indivisible, then between ticks there may be nothing at all. No duration, no change, no before or after, just silence, pure and timeless. The flow you know would then be a kind of stitching, a sewing together of stillness into song. This view also changes how you think of beginnings. If time is continuous, then any moment can be divided forever into smaller and smaller parts. But if time is granular, then there is a smaller step, an ultimate foundation. Just as matter is built from atoms and energy from quanta, so time itself may be built from indivisible pieces. At that base, reality may flicker like light, existing not as a smooth glow, but as pulses too fast for you to see. Quantum theory suggests that at this scale, your familiar understanding of space and time may no longer apply. The fabric becomes foamy, turbulent, uncertain. The concepts of here and there, now and then, blur into possibility. You are asked to imagine a world not of lines but of dots, not of flow but of discrete sparks, each one a seed of reality. There is a strange beauty in this idea. Continuity feels comforting, but discreteness carries its own peace. If time is made of grains, then each instant is whole and complete. You do not need to stretch it into flow to give it meaning. Each tick is already everything, already sufficient, already a universe in itself. This thought invites you to slow down. Instead of rushing through the flow, you can imagine resting in a single instant, letting it expand. Within one grain of time, the entire cosmos exists. Within another, it exists again, slightly shifted, slightly changed. Life is not only in the river's motion, but also in each droplet, complete in its moment. The granularity of time remains a mystery. No one has seen these grains. No one has measured them. They are an idea, a boundary where your current understanding falters. Yet even as a possibility, they offer you a way of seeing differently. Time does not need to be infinite in its divisibility. It can be finite, yet still vast. It can be granular, yet still smooth to your senses. It can be both at once. As you rest with this vision, you may feel the rhythm of your breath echoing. At each inhale a grain, each exhale another. Each heartbeat is a tick, a marker of existence. You live not only in the flow, but in the grains themselves, the indivisible instants that build your continuity. The gaps are hidden, but perhaps, in sleep, in dreams, you drift closer to them, closer to the silence between instants. You live with the certainty that time flows forward. You wake, you move, you age, and nothing ever unravels into youth or returns to the place it began. But physics does not insist on this certainty. Its deepest laws are strangely neutral, allowing time to flow either way, forward or backward, with no objection written into their mathematics. This means that the arrow you feel may not be an absolute truth, but an emergent one. Beneath the flow, there may be symmetry, a balance that allows both directions to be valid. You know one of them intimately, the one that carries you into tomorrow. But the other, the backward stream, remains a shadow, a hidden possibility. At the level of equations, nothing prevents time from reversing. Imagine a film reel again. Played forward, a glass falls and shatters. Played backward, shards leap together into wholeness. The laws of motion would still hold, whether the reel is wound one way or the other. Physics itself is blind to which direction you choose. It is entropy, not the fundamental equations, that fixes your experience. And yet, some theories wonder if a universe might exist where entropy leans the other way, where what you call the past is their future, where order grows instead of fading, where memories would point not behind but ahead. Such a universe would not be a contradiction of the laws you know. It would be their mirror, another solution to the same equations. Flowing in reverse. There are even cosmological models that suggest this symmetry could be real. At the Big Bang, perhaps time branched, not in one direction, but in two. One branch gave rise to your universe, where entropy increases toward what you call the future. The other branched, suspicious content outward in the opposite direction. A twin cosmos where time flows the other way. To them, you would be the reversed ones, retreating into their past. You can rest in this thought, not as a certainty, but as a meditation. The forward march you feel is not the only possibility. Somewhere, perhaps only in mathematics, perhaps beyond what you can ever observe, there could be another rhythm, another arrow. Your forward step is their backward drift. Your aging is their unwinding. Both truths exist together, each one complete in its own frame. This thought softens the rigidity of time. It reminds you that the arrow is not absolute, but local, emergent, contingent. The laws themselves remain symmetrical, like a mirror reflecting both directions equally. It is only entropy, and the way your universe has unfolded, that makes you believe in a single flow. When you drift into this symmetry, you begin to sense how fragile your sense of before and after truly is. If time can run both ways, then the meaning of cause and effect grows gentler, less sharp. What you call beginnings may also be endings. What you call endings may also be beginnings. In the mirror's reflection, each is both at once. There is a calm in resting with this paradox. You do not need to decide whether backward time exists, only to feel its possibility. You can hold the image of a twin universe, moving away from the Big Bang in its own direction, while you move in yours. Neither is wrong. Neither is less real. They are two sides of a single unfolding, two currents in the same great sea. And if this is true, then perhaps your own flow is not as singular as it seems. Perhaps the arrow you feel is only one thread among many. Time could be richer, more intricate, more mirrored than you imagine. What feels like a line may be part of a larger pattern, a weaving where forward and backward coexist, so you rest in this mystery. You let the certainty of your arrow soften into the possibility of another. You drift at the mirror's edge, where your future may be another's past, and their future your past. You do not need to step across. You need only to acknowledge the reflection and let it deepen your wonder at the strangeness of time. You often trust the present as something solid. It feels like a shared ground beneath all beings. The now you occupy, the instant you live in, surely must exist everywhere at once. You believe that if you say, this moment, someone across the world is also living in the same moment, their heartbeat aligning invisibly with yours. But Einstein revealed that the present is not universal. The now you hold is not the same for everyone. It depends on where you are, how you move, and how the fabric of space-time stretches around you. What feels like simultaneity to you, the idea that two events happen together, may not be simultaneity to someone else. This is called the relativity of time. Not only do clocks tick at different rates under gravity or speed, but even the definition of at the same time becomes slippery. What is your present may already be another's past, or not yet their future. You can picture this with the simplest thought. A flash of lightning strikes at both ends of a long train. For you, standing still on the ground, the strikes appear to occur at once. But for someone riding the train, moving toward one flash and away from the other, they do not appear simultaneous. The now of the ground is not the now of the train. Both are real, both are true. The present is no longer absolute. When you let this idea settle into you, it softens the sense of solidity that time seems to hold. The now you experience is intimate, personal, local. It cannot be stretched across the universe. The cosmos does not grant one universal present. It grants countless local presents, each tied to motion and place. This means that the question, what is happening right now on a distant star, does not have a simple answer. To you, one event may align with your present. To someone moving differently, another event may align instead. There is no single frame in which the whole universe shares the same instant. You can rest in this realization with gentleness. It does not undo your experience of now. You still live within it, breathe within it, trust its rhythm. But it reminds you that the present is not an absolute stage. It is a patchwork, stitched together differently for each observer. You and another may never share exactly the same now, even as you believe you do. There is something humbling in this thought. It loosens the grip of certainty. It shows you that your perspective is not the only one, not even in something as seemingly universal as the present. Reality is richer, layered, multiple, and there is something comforting here as well. For even though your now is not the same as mine, they are still part of the same fabric, interwoven by relativity. The universe does not demand a single present to bind you together. It allows many, overlapping and diverging, each one real, each one valid. When you look at the stars, you are seeing light that left long ago. The image you hold in your present is their past. Yet for you, it is still now. The relativity of the present becomes a kind of poetry. Your now is someone else's then, and someone else's now may one day reach you as light, as memory, as echo. So you rest in this slipperiness. The present, once thought universal, becomes a shifting horizon. It is not a single instant shared by all, but a local moment shaped by where you stand and how you move. You live in your now, and others live in theirs, and the cosmos holds them all without contradiction. You move through life with the quiet assumption that another second always follows. Moments may stretch or slip away, but the rhythm itself continues. The tick is endless, the beat unbroken. Yet physics, in its deepest reflections, leaves room for another possibility, that there may come not just an end to stars, or to galaxies, or to matter, but an end to time itself. A final second, after which there is no more after. What would it mean for the flow to stop? Not merely to slow, as near a black hole, not merely to stretch, as in the cooling of the cosmos, but to halt completely, to leave no space for another instant to unfold. To imagine this, you must first notice how much you take continuity for granted. Even in endings, the fading of a song, the closing of a day, the stillness of sleep, you still expect another moment to arrive. You wait for dawn, you wait for a new breath. Even death itself, in your imagination, occurs within time, as if you are still carried forward somehow. But a final second would mean no carrying. It would mean the end of the very fabric that allows forward to exist. Some theories of the cosmos hold this possibility. If the universe collapses back into itself, a big crunch, then time may shrink along with space, curling into its own conclusion. If the universe expands forever, racing outward until all structure dissolves, there may come a moment when time itself no longer has meaning, because nothing remains to measure it. In other speculations, quantum processes may one day bring about a phase shift rewriting the laws of physics, leaving the old version of time behind. You can rest in these thoughts without choosing among them. Each is a meditation on Each invites you to wonder whether time is eternal, or whether it, too, is a creature of the cosmos, born with the universe and destined to end with it. If there is a final second, what happens to everything within it? One view suggests nothing happens at all. The curtain falls, and there is no audience left to notice. Another view suggests that the entire history of the universe is complete, a finished whole, timeless in its entirety. In that view, the end of time is not destruction, but completion. Every moment that ever existed continues to exist, held forever within the fabric, even if the fabric no longer extends further. There is something soothing in this. If time ends, nothing that is unfolded is erased. The laughter, the sorrow, the light of stars, the turning of galaxies, all remain as part of the completed tapestry. The final second is not a vanishing, but a closing. The last thread woven into the cloth dot. And yet, you cannot help but feel the strangeness of imagining no after. Your mind resists it, because every thought you have is stretched across time. You are a being of sequence, of memory, of anticipation. To imagine the end of time is to step outside of yourself, to glimpse something beyond what thought can hold. You might think of it as the end of a song. While the song plays, it carries you. Each note leans into the next. When it ends, there is silence. But the silence here is not a pause before another song begins. It is silence without duration, silence that does not wait, silence that cannot even be called silence, because silence still belongs to time. The final second is not followed by stillness. It is followed by nothing at all. This possibility invites you to see time differently, even while you live within it. If time can end, then time is not ultimate. It is a condition of your existence, but not necessarily a permanent feature of reality. You live inside it, but you need not assume it is infinite. Rest with this thought. Each second you experience is precious, not because it leads to more, but because it exists at all. If time is finite, then every moment is a gift of extraordinary rarity. Each now shines more brightly when you see it as part of a limited sequence, a finite song. In this way, the possibility of a final second is not frightening, but tender. It softens your grasp on the future, reminding you that eternity may not be promised. It invites you to dwell more deeply in the present, in the seconds that are here, unfolding, alive. You carry time within you. It is not only written in the stars or stretched across the cosmos, but also woven into the fabric of your mind. The seconds you measure outside yourself are matched by the rhythms of your thoughts, your memories, your dreams. Time is not simply an external flow. It is also an inner landscape shaped by your awareness. Your memory creates a past. Without memory, yesterday would vanish, and all that would remain is the present. You remember your childhood, a conversation, a sound, a face, and these recollections build the sense that something has already happened. They are fragments of stored experience, stitched together into the story you call the past. Your anticipation creates a future. You imagine what might come next, a plan, a hope, a fear. These projections stretch your awareness forward into places that do not yet exist, but that feel as real to your thoughts as any memory. The mind's ability to imagine ahead is what gives the future its presence in you. Between them lies the present, yet even this is shaped by perception. Neuroscience suggests that what you experience as now is not an instantaneous point, but a window, perhaps a few seconds wide, within which your brain gathers and smooths information. Your sense of the present is already a construction, a synthesis, not a raw instant, and in dreams, the construction bends even further. You have felt time stretch strangely in sleep. Minutes of dreaming can hold hours of experience. Events fold back on themselves. A single dream may feel like a lifetime, or vanish as quickly as a blink. The arrow of time, so strict in waking, life becomes flexible in the theater of the mind. This reminds you that time is not only out there, etched into the fabric of the universe. It is also in here, etched into the structure of thought. Without memory, there is no past. Without anticipation, there is no future. Without consciousness, the flow of time itself may lose its shape. Philosophers have long wondered whether time, as you experience it, is a property of the universe or a property of the mind. Perhaps it is both, inseparably bound. The universe provides the rhythm, the ticking of processes, the unfolding of change. Your mind provides the narrative, weaving moments into sequence, giving them meaning, painting them with memory and expectation. You might think of it like music. The notes exist outside you, vibrations of air, but the melody, the sense of flow and emotion, arises in you. In the same way, the events of the universe exist outside you, but the feeling of time, its forwardness, its continuity, its story arises within. Even your sense of duration is shaped by attention. When you wait impatiently, time drags. When you are absorbed, it vanishes. When you are frightened, a moment expands, stretched by adrenaline. When you are joyful, hours collapse into a blur. This plasticity of perception shows that while clocks measure one rhythm, your mind dances to another dot, so time becomes twofold: the external unfolding of the universe and the internal shaping of experience. Each mirrors the other, yet neither is complete without the other. You live not in the raw ticks of a clock, but in the woven tapestry of memory and anticipation, stretched across the loom of physical time. This makes you wonder whether time is less a thing and more a relation, less a line and more a pattern. Perhaps time is the meeting place of the universe and the mind, the dialogue between change outside and awareness inside. You can rest in this thought, letting it soften your certainty. Time is not only what happens out there, it is also what happens in here. Dreams remind you, memory reminds you, attention reminds you. The arrow of the cosmos and the arrow of consciousness are entwined, shaping one another in ways still not fully understood.